Welcome to DAExMachiNation. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Folks, and thank you for joining us on another edition of DAExMachiNation. We got a pretty full house tonight. We're only missing Steve. We got Robbie Jed Rains, fresh off his North American book tour, joining us tonight, and Carrie Pocket Doc Davis, who's out been, curing the sick and healing the lame. And we're glad we got them both with us because we've got a great show for you guys tonight. With all the crazy shit that's been going on in the world, we're going to be talking about how a lot of that weird stuff is affecting cryptids, and it definitely will be. So before we jump really into this, we're going to go ahead and knock out right off the bat our shameless plug of the night. And since the pocket doc, the hillbilly leprechaun himself is here, we're going to talk a little bit about Dark Angel Medical for just a minute. We love you, Doc.
Man, I feel the love. I feel the love.
Ow.
Oh.
I feel it too, Doc. Trust me.
Oh Lord. Well, now that I'm here, I'll take up some of the slack, I reckon. All right, y'all. So
Make up for lost time.
exactly. We are Dark Angel Medical is a disabled veteran-owned small business, and that is my labor of love. Y'all head over to darkangelmedical.com for all of your medical kit needs. We've got some things out of stock right now. I apologize for that. And we are waiting on that to come in. Should have been in last month. But Dark Angel Medical, we sell anything from your minor first aid kits all the way up to your mass casualty kits. So not only that, we provide the training. So you can go onto our website, sign up for a training class near you. We have classes all over the United States this year. If you're a paramedic or an EMT, they are 16 hours of CAPC credit hours towards your renewal. And all of our kits are HSA, FSA eligible, as well as backed by our exclusive first in the industry Kit for Life guarantee, which means if you use one of our kits to save your life or the life of someone else and let us know about it, we'll replace what you have used absolutely 100% free of charge. And right now we are standing at 203 confirmed saves, which, as my daddy used to say, if that don't light your fire, your wood's wet. So head over to darkangelmedical.com, use the coupon code Cryptid20 for 20% off anything on your order, excluding training, and get that kit, get that training, and be the difference.
I got a question for you. That brand new badass St. Mike's kit, if they mention codename Wild Hunt, can they still get that tab on the new St. Mike's kit?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. SW wants to know any LEO discounts. Yes, sir. We do offer individual officer discounts. All you need to do is shoot an email to myself. That's Kerry, Kerry, at darkangelmedical.com. And I will send you a coupon code for that.
Oh yeah. Can't beat that with a stick.
That's correct, sir.
So, speaking of natural disasters, I just saw a headline that said Kilauea in Hawaii is erupting.
No, Lord.
That's a signal that others along the Pacific Ring may be going off. That's no bueno. And they're saying that we're overdue for an eruption out of Yellowstone.
I was just about to say that. It's average about 600 years, every 600 years, and we're at 644.
And Yellowstone's a super volcano, too.
Yeah, we would be.
Yellowstone will, that'll do some damage.
Yeah, me and my buddy, old Patrick, were driving around Yellowstone this past year, and he said, Yellowstone Lake, that's the caldera. I was like, get the hell out of here. He's like, no, I'm serious, man. And so if that blew, I'm down here around the Colorado Springs area. We'd be in the hot ash area. So it would be extremely, extremely devastating to the entire, not only United States ecosystem, but the entire world's ecosystem, just the ash alone.
From what I've heard from some volcanologists, that they say that when and if that one does go, it's going to make Mount St. Helens look like a hiccup.
Yeah, it's going to make
Well, in the 80s, we had ash all over our car, and we lived in New Mexico at the time.
Yeah, it's going to make Mount St. Helens look like a popcorn fart. You hear me? So, I mean, it's going to be.
We've all heard the stories about numerous like helicopter loads and truckloads of Bigfoot bodies being taken out of the area around Mount St. Helens.
Yes, sir.
So imagine what that caldera will do.
Man, that's going to destroy the environment. I mean, like I said, not just U.S. It's going to screw up the ecosystem around the world. That ash cloud is going to be.
There might be a single place in North America that is unaffected by that blast.
Correct.
And even good chunk of the way down into Central America.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. When and if it happens in our lifetime, it's going to be quite the event.
It will not be pleasant.
Well, Jennifer Lee just said there's movement around the sisters in Central Oregon. I'm not familiar with what sisters is. I'm assuming
sisters, I believe, are a pair of volcanoes. I think one of them is Rainier.
Okay.
I don't remember. Mount St. Helens. I remember Tony Harris says I remember Mount St. Helens going off. I don't remember what the sisters are, but I know it's a pair of volcanoes in Oregon, and I think they're like right around the Rainier area.
Man, I'll tell you, that's going to be, if any of that stuff. We're experiencing that stuff just like all the wildfires. I mean, it has a definite effect on everything.
Well, this show is probably gonna evolve. This particular episode is probably gonna go not only talking about how cryptids adapt, but how we can as well. Because survival in a natural disaster situation. Well, just look at those poor folks in North Carolina. They went without the hell. Most of them are still without the basics. I'm not going to get political, but somebody dropped the freaking ball, and
correct.
And it's only just now starting to get made right. Hawaii had those massive fires. There were massive fires around up around Los Angeles. If we've learned anything from any of these natural disasters, is do not look for the government to save you. I don't care who's in office; they are going to leave you hanging when the chips are down.
Yeah.
So at some point tonight, we're gonna discuss a little bit of disaster preparedness and things that you can do to help mitigate your circumstances and help protect yourselves. It's a good thing we got the little feller down there because he is a bona fide expert in the medical side of things, and we're going to be talking about other things you can do that'll not only help you, but it'll help you survive the situation, but even come out of it on top. Which is that's key. Survival is in these situations is going to be tough, especially on a lot of folks. Well, even myself, I've got a heart monitor and I'm a pre-diabetic. I've got to make sure I've got medication on hand because when things go to crap, they're not going to be able to resupply a lot of those stores.
Bingo.
You need to keep about a month's supply of your medications on hand, if at all possible. But anyway, one of the first things I wanted to talk about with cryptids is right now there's a wildfire event going on. Within about 45 minutes drive of where Robbie's sitting right now.
Closer than that, it's probably about 20 to 25. Well, with the Highway 11 shut down, it didn't. But
practically, and if you've read Robbie's book, you will know the area exactly where it's at because he talks about that area quite a bit in his book. For those of you who have not had a chance to get Robbie's book, y'all should get it. And he's getting close to making that 100th sale. So let's see if we can drive him over the top. But I'm going to go ahead and post Robbie's book link in there.
And he wrote in more than one syllable, and it's not even a coloring book, y'all. So, I mean, whew,
I listened when not talked.
Colored me surprised when I read it. I was like, wow.
Uptown phonics worked for Robbie.
I even used some big words too, didn't I, Doc?
You did. I was so impressed.
But he just cut and paste them. Come on now, we know.
Robbie was burning the hell out of that thesaurus. No, man, if y'all have not read his book, highly, highly recommend getting it. Just like DA's books, very entertaining. What you get not only is the storyline great, but you get the banter between the three stooges here and
Three idiots.
the three idiots. It is definitely
Yeah,
entertaining.
And somebody said something on one of the Facebook posts. The three of us were talking about this. They said, "I love the banter between Rick and Doc." I said, "Well, the banter between Rick and Doc is a lot like the banter between Doc and Jed is a lot like the banter between Doc and Robbie. I mean, it is what it is.
It definitely is, and it's a great book. Y'all need to get it and help a brother out and support another author, and you will not be disappointed.
Well, yet another segue. I just posted the link for Robbie's book in there. Y'all jump over there, grab that on Kindle or in print. But for those of you who may or may not remember, this little particular gem was recorded not far from where those fires are.
Here we go.
So we know there's cryptids in the area. And with that fire blazing, there's only so many places they can go.
Nope.
I think some of them may go below ground, but that's a dangerous application right there. You've got to be able to go deep or block off the entrance, because if you don't, it's going to burn your oxygen supply. So any other course of action, they've got the same actions we do. Shelter, get into some deep water, and keep your head down as much as you can, or get out of the area. That's really all the options they got.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
fire right now is in the stages. They're not going to put it out.
Well, there was so much fuel there dumped whenever Helene hit, man. I mean, my God, it's crazy.
I counted yesterday at dismissal, standing out there at the car line, 3 choppers with the buckets, the scoop buckets went across, and then today 3 more came across. But it's one of those things. They're just going to have to dump that water on strategic spots, try to contain it as much as possible, and just let it burn itself out. That's the only way that they're going to.
Yeah,
and it's getting close to some of the those high dollar cabins up on the state park side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that sheriff came on Facebook, I think. Well, I'll tell you, Tuesday night. I said he came on. I think it was Tuesday night. He came on, and they know who did it. But they're still. And this is what pisses me off about. And I'm assuming it's younger teenagers. They still hadn't found that woman up there, and a couple of deputies almost got caught in that fire because they were up there looking for that woman, and I almost got. It was bad. From the way Sheriff Blankenship put it, they were lucky they got out as quick as or when they did, because if they hadn't got out when they did, they'd have been cut off.
It was man-made.
Yeah,
son of a bitch.
So somebody started that deliberately.
What a piece of shit.
It was deliberately set.
God dang it!
From what the sheriff was saying on his Facebook post, it was because he said we know who did it. And the thing was, at that point, we hadn't had these 2 straight days of 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts that kicked it into overdrive, and they were still trying to get up there and try to find that woman get as much searching done as they could. And
y'all ain't had much rain up there either, have you, Robbie?
It rained a little bit Monday, and that's about it. Not much at all. I mean, like a drizzle. I mean, it drizzled all day.
Pretty dry around here too. I hope nothing like that happens around here.
Man, yeah, that's as dry as a powder house fart up there, man. Good Lord.
I will say one good thing about Missouri Department of Conservation is they still do controlled burns. They will go into an area and burn out the whole section and keep it under control and put it out when they're done. So doing those controlled burns allows an area to get rid of all that undergrowth that would go up like a matchbox.
Yep.
California quit doing that.
Well, that's
what happened. Doing that a long time ago.
That's what happened up in Wyoming, where me and Patrick were hunting this year. when we got run out of that area, when the elk fire started up in the Bighorns, and that fire burned over 130 something thousand acres.
Rodney says it's calling for rain on Saturday.
Yeah,
I hope so.
I need it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need it, but we need it now.
Rains, as my mother used to say, like a cow pissing on a flat rock.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, and yeah, because Wyoming DOR had not done any kind of controlled burns up there, and they think it was a cow camp that accidentally started the fire when they was bringing them down from the mountains down, and yeah, just got out of control. That's, oh my Lord, man, that's horrible, horrible, horrible. Well, we hope and pray y'all get some rain.
The one in California too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we hope y'all get some rain, brother.
Yep.
Good Lord.
And
We all need it right now.
and
Yeah.
just so you know, DA, the idea that I got for this was something Rodney and I was, and he actually came up with this topic that we're talking about tonight, because he was like, I wonder if that's going to raise the number of sightings we get around here with all this stuff going on and pushing them
They're
out.
going to have to get out of the area. Stefan Snyder said Camdenton and Sunrise Beach, that's just down here at Lake of the Ozarks, said they put a burn ban in until the 1st. I'm pretty sure there's one here in Greene County too.
Good. Well, and like you said, Robbie, and like we were talking backstage before the show, what are they going to be needing? They're going to need food. They're going to need shelter. They're going to need water. And if it's destroying all those sources for them, where are they going? They're going to have to push somewhere to where it is. So
They're going to get them wherever they can, and it's going to make them a lot older than they normally would be.
I think when they come out of areas, I think where we're going to see our peak in sightings as they're fleeing areas, I think we're going to see our most sightings in areas where there's plenty of water and areas where there are medicinal plants. I think that we're going to see a lot of stripped bark off spruce trees.
yeah, they're going to make a poultice out of that.
Or cool mud.
Yeah, willow trees, all your willow trees they're going to be stripped too. They're going to be chewing that bark. Yeah, so look for like those trees we saw out at
Holmes Ferry.
Combs Ferry. You know, look for those trees being stripped. Yep.
Yeah, White was out there with us. We saw a bunch of those trees that the cedar bark was just gone up to like 15 feet up.
Yep. And I can't reach 15 feet up. Hell, I can't reach 8 feet up. Hell, I can't reach 6 feet up.
Michael Scott says if they'd quit trying tainting the weather, we could do a whole show on that. But I heard about one channel that almost got shut down because they started talking about there are in fact patents held by certain key rich folks that are for weather modification. So anybody that thinks weather modification isn't real is deluding themselves. I'm not going to point any fingers.
This is my shot face.
Yeah, I'm not going to point any fingers, Bill Gates, but somebody owns a bunch of those patents.
Don't
You
get
can look that up.
Don't get too
That
close to the truth. They'll shut you
That
down.
is searchable and verifiable.
Yeah,
Damn sure is.
Don't get too close to the truth, y'all. They'll shut you down.
State of Florida is in the process of passing a law banning weather manipulation technology in the state of Florida.
Good.
I just read that article today, actually.
Yeah, Billy's right. The shutdown goes down Highway 11 from Annie Ann's, which I know a lot of people don't know, but the ones that are in there know, from Highway 11 at Annie Ann's, which is right at the base of Table Rock, or not at the base of it, it's right there at the area where you turn to go in. They shut it down all the way back to the Greenville County line, which goes back battered around in the area where Johnny and I had our first encounter, is right up in that area. So,
well,
that goes into Jones Gap State Park.
I'm just wondering.
Kevin said paint your roof blue. He knows. Yes, Robin, this channel is for entertainment purposes only.
Thank
Look
you,
over
Robin.
this show. Yeah, we are entertainment purposes only, folks. Into the bush, changing shifts outside of my house.
Man. So let's talk about the caves. If they run in the caves, smoke's going to go down there, like you said.
Smoke will only go so far.
But
There's two things about caves, especially here in Missouri, but I know the case is going to be similar up in the mountains of South Carolina because that's part of the Mammoth cave system. Some of those go miles deep. Plus, the USGS survey that did that recon deep into Mammoth Cave said they were finding sections of caves that had boulders moved over the entrance, and they pried a couple open with hydraulic jacks, and when they would come back, it'd be put back.
yeah, that was the one where that girl got chased and she ended up in Kentucky.
Yeah. No, she was in Kentucky and wound up in North Georgia.
Yeah, she was gone for like 7 days. She was underground for like a week, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
So let's think about this. Down there, do you think they're able to have food stores? We know they have water because the underground creeks, streams, rivers, whatever. So,
well, I would think there's bound to be, and I'm not saying there's enough down there to support them, but there's bound to be stuff in those creeks, whether it be crayfish, depending on where you
blind cave
in.
Yeah.
Other kind of crustaceans, mussel or freshwater mussels, fish. There's bound to be stuff in those streams for them to eat, and I'm sure there's other types of vegetation down there that they can eat, but I wouldn't put it past them to be like hunter-gatherer types.
Not only that, those deep caves, some of the mud that's in those cave systems is so full of minerals that it'd be perfect for using for poultices or I'm sure there's a lot of medicinal properties we aren't even aware of yet because we don't do a lot of research deep in the caves.
So there is definitely the ability to survive. Now, is it going to be enough to meet their caloric demand based on how big they are? Probably not, but they're not going to starve. They may drop a few pounds, like a bear in hibernation or something. But
in the case of Mammoth Caves, they might just use that as a highway to come up and better hunting grounds.
True. And Robert D just had a good point. He said, plus other animals run into caves to get away from fires, so lunch is served. Yeah.
Ringing the dinner bell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, who knows where these caves come out at? They go in at Table Rock in South Carolina, and they could come out in Kentucky way away from the fire.
Correct.
Because if they use these as super highways, like we've theorized that they do, we don't know what's down there. We don't know where these things go. We don't know what kind of food sources may or may not be down there. The
thing that y'all might want to watch for is like the night when we were down at Blunk Road. We saw that thing head and shoulders above the water coming right at us. They could get out in a deep current and just use that to get the hell out of the area.
Correct.
And Doc knows how to throw a big SUV in the drive and get it up that little dirt road.
Doc's nickname that night was Stroker Ace.
And that defensive driving course came in handy, sir.
I was proud of you.
Thank you, sir. I looked around like I've been through EVOC or something.
I was about to say, for a non-EVOC personnel, you handled that big SUV like you knew what you're doing.
Well, I may have had a course or two in that.
I can tell. You had a course or two. Get your ass in the truck.
Yeah, we were Robbie wrangling.
Kay Bauer says, Robbie, off topic, but I got an email about possible attacks on hospitals in coming weeks. I've got questions for all you guys. I got that same email, and I made sure that all my old guys at the hospital got that. Because one of the things that's on that target list that they identified are trauma centers. And the Cox South Hospital here in Springfield is the only level 1 trauma center in Southwest Missouri.
Yeah, look out, be aware. Any hospital that has a blood bank is going to be a big one. All of them could be targets, but level 2 and level 1 and level level 1 and level 2 trauma centers are going to be the ones you got to watch out for sure. And so because they have the rapid trauma capability, blood banks, things like that, to respond in any kind of incident like that. So, Dr. 45-120 Sharp says, Doc, ready for the Baja 500? I was that night.
Damn right.
I made that Grand Wagoneer. You know what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to say it. Yeah, so Yeah, and Bowers, yeah, you're in level 4. Don't count anything out. Anywhere there's a soft target, and hospitals are notoriously soft targets. I worked in a hospital for many, many years, and so just yeah, man, keep your eyes peeled. Tell all the security personnel, not only security personnel, admin, nurses, doctors, anybody in the any. It's like the old, if you see something, say something. I'd rather somebody nitpick and go, man, I just saw that dude lay a backpack down over there and he walked off. Well, maybe he's outside having a smoke break or something, but still, don't.
Yep. I wish more hospitals would do what Greenville County hospitals do. They've got their own police force.
Yeah, don't discount it, man.
Class 1, same certification that I have.
Yeah,
my detail when I was the sergeant for the overnight group over at South. We trained for active shooter drills with the Springfield SWAT team, and 4 times out of 4, we not only beat SWAT to the threat, but neutralized it before they got there.
Oh,
and the fifth run through, they made us not respond so SWAT could get the guy.
Okay, hey guys, we're getting some questions out of chat. Roxanne and Kenji were asking about what kind of attack, what kind
talking about vehicle-borne IEDs.
And then Kenji is asking about the list.
Let me see if I've still got it. I had it. I will transfer it over to my phone.
And Old Fart said, "Is this the 420 stuff?"
No, guys, I've got it. Give me just a second to text it over so I can put it on my on this screen.
Yeah. So, yeah, honestly, nowadays, guys, no matter what day it is, it goes without saying to be prepared for any eventuality. And I'm not saying this to peddle med kits or my training or anything like that, but I'm saying this to peddle my med kits and my training. Be prepared for the eventuality that something could happen, because God forbid it does happen. The worst thing in the world to say is, I don't know what to do, and I don't have anything to help me. And so, just
what was it? Teddy Roosevelt said, "The best thing to do is the right thing. The worst thing to do is nothing."
Correct.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, it was like a 3-part thing. Yeah, and basically he said, basically what I say in class, I'd rather you half-ass something than whole-ass nothing. You know what I mean? And that's a real thing.
Okay, I have got that. I'm going to share it on the screen. We'll see if
exactly
if we suddenly go off the air, this is why. But I'm fixing to share this, and you guys can read it for yourself. I will not be surprised if we suddenly start having technical difficulties. But this is what it's saying. Highly credible threat, actively planning coordinated multi-city attacks on U.S. hospitals in the coming weeks. Vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices, VBEDs, followed by armed assaults and hostage scenarios. They're suggesting that, well, I'm not going to say the names because it'll definitely get us smacked around a little bit. For much like the DC thing, and it's prelude to a larger scale. High casualty areas and level 1 trauma centers in mid-tier cities, and Springfield is definitely a mid-tier city, should review security, identify pre-attack recon, and implement emergency response measures now. And I sent that out to all my guys.
Well, I don't know if Greenville is a mid-tier city, but Greenville Memorial Hospital, or whatever it's going by now, is a level 1 trauma center.
Well, if it's a level 1 trauma center, I would worry about it, especially if it's the only one in your area.
Like I said, they do have their own police force. It's not just, and that may be why they ended up going and doing that, is for stuff like that, eventualities happening. Because, like I said, they may even have their own SWAT team too. For all I know,
Kate Bauer said he got an official. Can you forward that to me? Send that to my DARoberts@DARoberts.net email, and I will get that out to a lot of guys I know that are still in uniform.
Wow, that's terrifying, man. I was And it's funny. It resonates with something because I was down in Orlando teaching the Airline Pilots Association their security teams for Canadian and United States Airlines a couple of weeks back, and they were speaking on this exact thing. They actually had a former CIA case officer doing one of the briefings, and they were speaking to this not only for hospitals and things like that, but for airports.
Dr. 45, I got that on the 18th.
Yeah, they're talking about how there's threats for that for the airports as well. So,
Roxanne, it's mid-tier cities. That just means
mid-tier.
That's just
like,
sizes.
Like mid-sized cities, not major cities.
Yeah, like Colorado Springs, Springfield, Aiken, Greenville.
I'd say Greenville probably is a mid-tier city. It's big.
Anything over 100,000 can be considered mid-tier.
Oh, it's definitely over 100,000. It's probably three and a half thousand.
Yeah,
100,000. I mean,
yeah. So's the Springs.
Says Joplin, maybe. Joplin's got a pretty big hospital, but it's not a trauma center. Kay Ballard says, what's that email again? It's just DARoberts@DARoberts.net. Let me, I will post it.
Yeah, we got over
in just a second.
Over 500,000 people. Just an old fart. Davenport, Iowa. My brothers went to Palmer College of Chiropractic there. I'll be there.
Just Greenville City itself, but the hospital is not in the city, but just the city itself, population is 72,824, and that was from 2023. So
that's probably still considered mid-tier.
Yeah.
Probably anything 50,000 and over, if you think about it, really.
We got over 500,000 in the Springs area, and that's not counting all the bedroom communities either.
Yeah. And like I said, that's just Greenville City. That's not Greenville County. Greenville County is huge.
Again, without going political in any direction or another, we're going to talk about a couple of things that you guys can do. Should, what they refer to as the shit hits the fan, SHTF situations. One of the first things I would do is when you get that first warning that something's happening, fill your bathtub and sinks with water. If you've got a life straw, you can fill pretty much anything and filter it out. I would get one of those on hand. Make sure you've got an ample supply of your medication, especially if you're insulin dependent or something like that, and you've got to have it. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure you've got those medications on hand. If you've got a generator, keep it ready. Not everybody does, but there are plenty of old-fashioned ways you can keep things cool and keep them from going bad without a generator. Keeping hot and keeping cool in during bad weather is another key factor. But another hit for Dark Angel here. Get a good med kit and keep it on hand.
Hey, and yeah, absolutely, and not just your trauma stuff, but your minor trauma stuff, your Band-Aids, your gauze pads, your topical anesthetics, your topical ointments, things like that. And like DA was saying about as far as the bathtub of water, there's actually a cool little device out there called a water bob, WATERBOB, and it's $35. It's on Amazon, and you can put it in your tub, and it'll hold upwards of 100 gallons of water. And however many tubs you got in your house, it'll fit in that tub and conform to the shape of that tub. Fill that sucker up. Plenty of trash bags, plenty of paper towels, plenty of get those big old packs of dude wipes, the unscented dude wipes to keep yourself clean with, hand sanitizer. Sanitation is going to be a big thing with this. If you lose power, if you lose water, you don't want any kind of disease. So disease prevention, field sanitation is going to be huge. And
another thing to bear in mind is natural disaster and unnatural disaster, whatever it happens, prepare for looters because it is gonna happen.
Correct. Yeah. If you've got lights in your house, if you're the only dudette with a generator on your block, build what we did. what we did in the military was we put big sheets of plywood around that sucker, ratchet strapped it together so it blocked some of the noise coming off of it, but still left airflow for ventilation because it's air cooled, and blackout curtains and things like that in your house. Because if you're the only house on the block with lights on, that happened to us the other night. We had this freak blizzard out here, and our power wall kicked on, and we're the only house out here with lights on. And so in a bad situation, that's going to be a big freaking beacon for bad folk. So, yeah. And somebody asked me do I have a not a TCCC, but a CLS kit, equivalent kit. Yes, I am familiar with that. I used to teach that. I used to teach it with the 44th Med Brigade up at Fort Bragg. If we do we have an equivalent med kit? Yes, it's called the Saint Mike bag. It's your big mamma jamma. It ain't cheap, but it's worth it.
Something else I can personally attest to because of everything that happened when we lost electricity in our house is what we call the Amish space heater, where you take a clay pot and put it upside down, have a candle burning under it, where that setup works great. Now, Granted, we only had 2 of them going, like one in the kitchen and one in the living room, but it took enough of the chill off where we weren't freezing, and we got well below freezing several nights.
I was worried about y'all, to be honest with you, brother, because I know it got colder than a witch's titty up there. You know what I'm saying?
It was flipping chilly. Got in single digits one night.
Yeah.
Annette and I were arguing over who got to sleep with the dog. I get him now. I'm cold.
Poor old Harley.
Oh, he was loving it, man. He got to cuddle and sleep and stay under the blanket.
And we've been having our grand dog with us. He's a Chiweenie. He's half Chihuahua and half weenie dog. And
he's half a dog high by a dog and a half long.
Exactly. And he's laying at the end of the bed, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I feel him low crawling up next to me, and he about burned me out of bed last night. I had to kick the sheets off. I was like, "Good Lord, son." But yeah, what DA's saying, alternate heating sources, cooking sources for warming your food, boiling water. Because remember, if you're on community water, if you're on city water, and that water filtration plant goes down, your water may not be potable. It may not be drinkable. So you want to boil that for at least 5 minutes. If you got bleach, look it up on the recognition using bleach for water purification. It's like 1 drop, literally like a drop of bleach per liter. Because if you overdo the bleach, you'll end up getting the backdoor trots. So that's a bad.
Doc, thing. I don't mean to cut you off. DA, check the messenger chat. I just sent you 2 pictures. This is 2 miles from one of my sergeant's house.
Jesus.
Let me look. You said this on
messenger chat, Doc.
Copy.
Let me get back into my Facebook on my computer and bring those up.
It's 2 miles from his house.
Is he okay?
Well, I mean, I guess he's okay if he's taking a picture, but I don't think I would assume that they're getting ready to skedaddle on out of there if that's 2 miles from his house. And y'all will see here in a second if DA can get the pictures up.
Kenji says, how would you guys prevent looters or stop them if it comes to that? Whatever is necessary. Whatever, use the least amount of force required as is necessary to achieve the desired outcome.
Yeah.
That's the most politically ambiguous answer I can give you, sir.
Yeah. But the unpolitically correct was, I would just say, hollow point.
Correct.
Because it comes down to defending my family or letting them, come in and do whatever. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Amen.
Damn Skippy.
Make sure y'all have plenty of emergency food on hand, the meds.
Strong one.
Lighting. Woo! That is a big fire, son.
Where's that at?
2 miles from my sergeant's house.
That is no bueno.
Well,
we're certainly going to be praying for everybody in y'all's area.
And that was just taken, as in a few minutes ago.
Good Lord. Yeah, because we were worried about that.
Current.
Those elk fires up in Wyoming. Remember, I sent y'all pictures when me and Patrick was up there hunting. Those were literally 3 miles from his house. So yeah, it's quite scary, y'all. So prayers out for North Carolina and South Carolina, folks.
Right.
They've had
folks in Hawaii right now with that volcano getting out.
Yeah, that too. Good Lord.
What are you talking about, Vicky? How what?
Back is stiff.
Yeah, Daniel. Give me just a second. No, I'll text that to you right now while I'm thinking about it, Daniel.
Yeah. Amen to that, Wyatt.
He said he's got a lot of stuff already moved out of his out to his parents' house, and he's just waiting to see if it jumps 11. And if it jumps 11, he's out.
Well,
I said, dude, GTFO.
Yeah, we had. Well, hell, man, we had one down there at Schriever Air Force Base or Space Force Base, whatever, Nanu, the other day, and I was up teaching a class at Magpul, and Angie texted me. She said, "Hey, there's a big fire, and if it jumps 94, Highway 94 is heading right for our house. Thank God they got it contained because it was heading right for us."
Daniel, I just sent that to you via text.
Her and her little short butt was out there with a garden hose in the yard about ready to spray everything down. I know she's got it handled. Just an old part. I was going to snack on a charcuterie board of canned meats and chips and salsa. I better save the canned meats. Well, we got a lot of Spam and potted meat and Vienna sausage. I know the kids won't eat it, so we're good. Robin Ray picked up on the Nanu reference.
I did too. I was just busy reading what they were saying.
Nanu.
That's just, if it jumps Highway 11, that's bad. That's going to be.
Yeah. Brent Roberts says Robbie just saw it's trying to jump 26 in Hendersonville.
Are they?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're probably digging. They're probably cutting fire breaks out there, ain't they?
Oh yeah, that's they called in manpower from fire departments all over the place. There's fire police and EMS from probably 12 different counties up here right now.
We're gonna say some prayers for them.
But right now, the side it's on, there are houses on the side of 11 that's on right now, but nowhere near as many. If it hits the other side, Rodney can tell you, if it hits the other side, dude, that's going to be bad. I mean, it's bad already, but it's really going to be bad because that's where most of the houses are, is on the other side.
So
where it's at right now.
Let's look at this from a cryptid standpoint. Where's that going to be flushing on, Robbie? What do you think? South? Are they going to be heading southeast?
Honestly, and I know it's hard to explain when there's a few people in the chat that know what I'm talking about, but right now, take a look at Highway 11 as a border. And Highway 11, I'm on this side of Highway 11, Table Rock's on the other side of Highway 11. Granted, I'm a long ways away from Highway 11, but look at that as the border. So if it's running down that corridor, down that border, I would say it's pushing them this way on my side of Highway 11.
So does Highway 11 run, for us geographically impaired folks, does Highway 11 in South Kakalaki, does that run east-west?
Hold on, I'm going to have to check because
Damn it, Bobby, you're supposed to have your topographical maps up.
I'm so used to doing it for rec reports. You have to convert stuff. Like if it runs north and south, you have to convert it to east and west. DA knows what I'm talking about, and that drives me up the wall. So
I'm consulting the Oracle right now. So let's see here. South Carolina Highway 11. So it's north of Greenville, and it kind of, it runs kind of a northeasterly direction.
Yeah, it goes.
It's more east and west than the majority of it's east and west. Like going towards Gaffney, it terminates at Gaffney across 26 to 85 at Gaffney is what I'm looking at, and it basically skirts the border of North Carolina, does it not?
Yeah, you can. Most of the time when I go to North Carolina, in the areas of North Carolina I go to, I usually take 11 all the way up.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because it skirts right over, and then 26 is a north south. 85 kind of goes southwest northeast.
Yep. So there, where the fire's at right now is on the upper side where Table Rock and all that is. If you found that on your map.
So it's north. Okay, the Table Rock Fire. Yeah, I see it. So it's north of Highway 11, because south of that is like Pickens, Easley, Travelers Rest, Greenville, all that.
Yes, I'm on the south side of Highway 11, and when they did the first shutdown, it went it was Highway 11 from Annie Ann's north.
This is what I'm looking at right now.
Yep. And about where your finger was at, that's Pickens City.
And that's kind of what I'm wondering. Which way do you think it would flush them? As far as
I think the south side, because there's still a lot of woods, and maybe not as thick, and obviously not state park area, but there's still a lot of thick woods in that area. So I'm thinking this way.
Which way is a wind blowing? Is a wind blowing like from the southwest?
Trying to think. I looked at it earlier today to see which way, because it was blowing. They said it was 25-mile-an-hour gust. I think, if I remember right, it was going southeast.
Okay. I'm just curious.
It was going whichever direction it was blowing. It was blowing to shift it going towards Greenville County. So if you look on that and see which way Greenville County is, that's the direction it shifted it to.
Okay. Yeah, because the reason I'm asking, and I'm getting all meteorologically nerdy here, but if the winds are blowing that fire to the northwest, those critters are probably going to shift, north or northeast. They're going to shift northwest or direct east or direct west or southeast. You know what I'm saying?
He says it's going to turn north tonight.
Okay, so they're they could push them. It could push them north, or it could push them south.
Well, anything that was in between the fire and Highway 11 is coming this way.
And how far were you from Highway 11? Were you and Daniel? Who was it?
Me and Johnny.
Johnny had your encounter
right off of Highway 11. We actually went up and Pickens, turned right on Highway 11 and went down about towards Greenville. Actually, it's in Greenville County. It's right off of that map where you just showed.
Yeah.
It was probably actually in that area that you just pulled up.
So it's safe to say that they could be pushing towards y'all then. So you could be like DA was saying earlier in the show, you could be looking at a higher rate of potential encounters, maybe, and not even peaceful encounters, because these things are being threatened. They're under duress. You know what I mean?
But I would say most of them are just, it blew by me so fast I didn't know what the hell it was.
Right.
They're probably not going to stop to kick some fireman's ass. They're probably going to blow by him like he's standing still.
Right.
Those people, yes, but the people they would encounter after they've put some distance between them and the fire, I think that's what Doc's talking about.
Yeah.
The ones who aren't up there.
And they're probably not going to be in the mood to be trifled with when they get out of the area.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're like Camo Dad says, any direction away from fire and smoke for sure. Yeah, because what's it doing? It's destroying their shelter. It's destroying their food source, their water source. So
I said, would they climb elevation to escape the fire? If they could get above the wood line, yeah.
But is there anything around there above timberline?
No, not really. But
the mountains big enough to
fire burns up. Fire doesn't burn down. Fire burns up.
It burns up. Yeah, because
animals know that. So their animals are, unless they're trapped up high, their animals are not going to go and try to get above a fire line. They're going to try to get below it, because once the fire has burnt past that certain area, that's it. It's not going to come back down.
If it was in the Rockies, they could get up into the snow and
but
probably get shelter.
There's no elevation for that around here.
Yeah, because I can see the San Juans from my house, which is crazy. But I can see Pikes Peak from my picture window. And there's still a butt ton of snow above timberline.
Yeah. There's its timberline is all the way up, because the start of the Appalachian Trail is at Table Rock.
Okay, because we did some of the AP Trail in Johnson City, Tennessee area. Okay,
Yeah, you can go.
The biggest encounter spikes are going to be near bodies of water, especially deep ones.
Yeah.
Well, see, they're dipping a lot of those helicopters. I think are using Table Rock Lake, our Table Rock Lake, not yours. That'd be a long way to shuttle water.
Yeah, they'd have to have a couple of mid-air refuels.
A couple of refuels. Yeah. I was thinking that too.
But hell, it'd just be closer to use seawater.
Let's think about this too, man. I mean, they're going to be traveling with their clans, and so they're going to have young ones, and so like DA was saying, they're probably some of them's going to be suffering from burns, and so.
They're going to be facing the same problems we would in the area if we weren't able to get in a vehicle and flee. 100%. If we were stuck on foot in an area like that, they're going to be facing the exact same problems: burns, injuries, how to get out of the area, how to still be able to move and breathe.
Yeah, and they don't. I mean, they don't have the. I mean, they may be able to wet moss. That's the only thing I think of. Like for air filtration, they could wet moss and put it over their face for some rudimentary air filtration system or something like that. It would cool the air and it would filter it and purify it a little bit. But that's the only thing I can think of.
And that's something that I learned in some of my fire classes that a lot of people don't think about. Is that people think, oh, I'll just jump into a body of water and I'll be safe, but you may not get burnt, but you breathe in that superheated air.
Correct. Well, now you're
inside.
Now your airway's cooked. We talked about that in the class. I mean, now your airway's cooked, and like Camo Dad said, spring is birthing season, and K Bowers is like they're not going to be in a mood to rest around. No, because they're just like us. They're in a duress mode. They're in an evacuation mode.
Benji says, so what's going to happen if they're hungry and in a new area, like them encroaching on another thing's territory? Well, like any other large predators, there's going to be large predators butting heads. Yeah. But I'd also say we're probably, especially people that live in remote areas, are going to be at a much higher risk to either have, their house burglarized for food or themselves.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, man, because they're going to be in a territorial pissing contest because that's not their AO they're moving into. So, yeah.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm glad you sent that out. That he just sent it to his department head.
Good.
Vicky says, or a lot more people being attacked.
Yeah.
Pete says cryptid wars could be a possibility. I would say we will see brief but violent flare-ups. Because even big predators are going to sense that fire is still coming, and they're probably not going to be fighting over food. They're going to be looking to get out of the area themselves.
And a lot of that will probably go largely unnoticed because the majority of the human populace is going to be so consumed with fighting the fire, and also we know these things have a history in of their dead disappearing. So there might not be a whole lot of evidence of
getting boats and watch your pet.
Interspecies wars. Yeah, wash your pets. Yeah, Fifi's going to be a snack.
So with that, weenie.
Oh no, I ain't gonna let none of that in my Chester. He's my grand dog. He's my buddy, man. He's my buddy. Yeah, I mean, just like
him with mustard.
Hey, dude, up in Boulder, he's wearing him a bandana right now. Up in Boulder, when they have the big cats and bears and everything down there, these little yap dogs, them suckers go missing real quick on the regular. Cats, little dogs, yeah.
And that's not just cryptids. I mean, bears and wolves and coyotes will take them quick too.
That's what got that woman in Florida killed a couple months ago. That gator come up and snapped her dog, and she went after it, and it got her too.
Woo! Lord have mercy! I didn't see that. That's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all I know is I got a bunch of muleys out here in my backyard, been tearing my yard up. So
we don't have to deal with swamp donkeys in Missouri.
Correct. Yeah.
I take a big old pass on that.
Oh yeah, Larry Berlin said could be more sightings on roads. Absolutely, because they're going to be
Off the roads to get out of areas.
Crossing roadways. Absolutely, that's a great point. Or like we saw DA and Robbie, that sucker coming through the creek. There might be folks out there seeing them come through creeks.
Mike Scott says, "You all aware it's against the law to shoot a skunk ape? It's the last sentence under hog hunting." I've heard that, but the Oklahoma went the other direction. Oklahoma's got a $3 million bounty out for one brought in alive.
Kiss my grits. Are you serious?
Serious.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want to try because, what if you get the dosage wrong?
No.
We'll take a big old pass on that.
No.
That night we were on the bridge in Moon Valley, the thought of tranking one never entered my mind.
I was literally just thinking of that, son. When I said, "Hey, I see two things out there. Hit it with your lights," and you're like, "Yep, there's a big eye shine. There's another eye shine." I was like, "Oh."
I believe the phrase is "thermal don't lie."
Yeah, that was the phrase.
Thermal does not indeed lie at all.
Pacing back and forth across his hotel room in his jumper.
I know something else Doc didn't like. The Cannibal House.
It wasn't so much a Cannibal House; it wasn't damn dolls.
That doll village.
I don't care.
So Noah found a local story that I hadn't heard. Noah said that if you drive by that doll village at night and then turn and come back, shit's moved.
Well, it must have moved because we went past that sumbitch like 4 times.
Yeah.
But whenever Robbie's like, "There's a doll," I was like, "Nope." Or was it you, DA? I was like, "Nope."
Yeah, it was me. Like, there it is. Doc wouldn't even look. Hello Wolf says, "Doc, question for you. Do you know of any natural plants good for helping with epilepsy and or seizures?"
Actually, yes. Cannabinoids. Extremely, extremely good with neurological disorders. And that's not because I live in Colorado. That is a real thing. Absolutely. Cannabinoids, CBD products, THC products, things like that. So yeah, cannabinoids.
Got a great idea. No, don't tranquilize it. We'll just make a freaking monstrous batch of pot brownies and feed them to him. When he's so stoned he can't get away, we'll just put him in the car.
Yeah, just hope he doesn't get the munchies, because you're it.
Well, we'll just keep feeding him brownies.
There you go. Yeah. Give Squatch a bottle of wild turkey.
Yep, the kicking chicken. He kicks you out of the car. With the door still attached to your back.
I can see Squatch out there going, "Sweet berry wine. You're supposed to spit it out," but I say, "No way, Jose."
He'd be like, no, he's like,
Oh.
Lean him up the SUV, one arm around Doc, one around me. I love you guys.
Man, we're derailing hardcore. I could, yeah, the Squatch is like hitting the beef jerky. This stuff tastes like crap. Anyway, Lord have mercy.
Got the vapors.
I got the
really
vapors.
tastes like shit.
All right. I mean, it is a thing, though. I mean, to think about, because these critters are going to be looking for food sources. They're going to be looking for water sources. They're going to be looking for medicinal plants. So those are definitely some considerations, man. Because guys, I mean, especially you, Robbie, living out in that area. Golly, son, they're.
What about the theory that Kuhnbo was talking about, and I've talked to a couple other guys, some guys that were noodling for catfish, claimed they saw a Bigfoot go up underneath the bank, up into a beaver den.
Or there's a lot of submerged caves that are walled out underneath those banks too, that they'll go and den up, or they'll actually reclaim a den. They'll kick whatever's in there out because I mean they're the biggest cat on the block. You know what I mean?
Gators makes
over the house and eat it.
all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, Robbie. Say it one more time for the folks in the back.
I said gators make big dens like that all the time, especially if it gets to be a cold snap when they need to get a little bit warmer. A bunch of them will dig back and water back up into a big mud bank and make a big hideout.
Because you think about it, if they're back there and they have a water seal against the bank, then that fire and smoke is not going to be coming up in there. So they're
safe.
They're safe.
Good shelter.
Yeah.
Vicky Denson says, wonder if any Bigfoot ever hit the moonshine the old times in the mountains years ago. I've heard several stories about them stealing the sour mash.
Yep. I've heard plenty of old moonshiners say that they kept their mash to give to hogs and cows and stuff like that and come back and it'd be gone.
Get out of here.
100%.
I'll be doggone.
What? If you were a
drunk Sasquatch on sour mash.
If you're a farmer in the state of Missouri, you can take a transport truck to St. Louis to the Budweiser brewery and buy the mash that they've used in the tanks for pennies on the dollar to take and feed your cattle. And there was a guy down by Eminence, Missouri, who had been routinely doing that. And more, he kept noticing that it was gone and his cows weren't getting it.
Huh. Well, dog my cat.
Story.
K. Bauer says that's a new level of drunk monkey.
Oh, you ain't lying.
Trunk monkey.
That's none I want to be friends with for sure. What other considerations do we have, boys? We've talked about food. We've talked about water. We've talked about medicinal plants. What else?
Filtration.
Yeah, air quality.
Okay.
Because that's what I think. I think they would move as far away from it, unless it was like like Doc said, they were just trapped in a situation where they couldn't get anywhere else, and they had to go into one of those mud banks or something like that, or just somewhere where. But if they had the opportunity, I think they're going to get as far away from it. They're not going to go just over the road and say, "Oh, there it is. We're good." They're going to keep going.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I mean, and using the moss, you know what I mean? Using the wet moss. I was just I don't know why that came to my head. I remember it was like part of survival training. They were talking about using it for against a smoke filtration thing. I mean, I don't really want to be breathing through wet moss, but I guess the other alternative is way less desirable. So, I don't know, man. What do y'all think? Are people going to start seeing their game on their game cameras that they would normally see on their game cameras? Would you see a sharp decline in game in that area?
More than likely.
I would venture to say yes.
Because if you got a large number of displaced apex predators, they're gonna pick it. They're gonna pick an area clean pretty fast.
Yeah, and not only
large number of displaced game animals.
Right, but not only that too. Like they were talking about, hide your pets. But what about farmers? Your livestock, your chickens, your goats, your pigs, your cows, hell, even your horses.
Your stock dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those are going to be. Well, I mean, look, I mean, they're opportunistic hunters. You know what I mean?
Like Jesus Payon said on the Navajo reservation, they found a horse that had an entire rear leg ripped off of it.
Right. You can't be no wilting lily with rip a freaking horse's rear leg off. Good Lord.
That's a tremendous amount of power.
Yeah. Well, like Camo Dad, we used to cover 26 miles an hour on a ruck. Done it.
Yep,
I mean, yeah, we did that with my little short little legs. I built like a damn corgi dog. These squatches that have like their strides are 6-7 feet, or if not more. They're stepping, son. So yeah, they could cover.
Yeah, look at someone with a 6 to 7 foot stride. They're going to cover some territory.
Yeah, and Kenji has a great one. What about them using abandoned homes as shelters? Why not?
We've already seen stuff like that. DA that has probably been in an abandoned home that was used as as a squat shelter.
The nest on the second floor.
Where was that?
Just here in Missouri, on the other side of Lebanon. Me and a buddy of mine, his name's Chris. He's been in the chat a number of times. It wouldn't surprise me if he's in here tonight just lurking.
He's actually been on the show with us.
They lived out north of Lebanon and out off 32 Highway. And we went hiking in. There's land near his family's farm that was all bank land. Nobody lived on it. Nobody had lived on it in God knows how long. Well, being adventurous little idiots that we were, we packed some sandwiches and a couple backpacks, and I took a shotgun and he took a 22, and we went out in the woods. And we cut across an old road that was way back in the woods, and we followed it up to a house that had just looked like it had just been abandoned. There were 2 or 3 like old style, like 30s and 40s cars sitting there rusted out. There was a full plow. There was still food. There was still like I wouldn't have trusted it, but there were still like mason jars down in the root cellar. When we went in the house, there was still one of those big cast iron wood-fired cook stoves in there, and they didn't just leave those things behind. And it was still in good shape. It looks like you could have cleaned the rust off of it and took it home. Of course, probably weighed a ton, but God, it was just cast iron. But I said, hey, let's get the hell out of here. And Chris said, no, let's go upstairs. And I said, all those stairs ain't going to hold us. Well, it turned out they were still more solid than I thought. And we went up on the second floor. And in one of the bedrooms on the second floor, we found what looked like a bird's nest. It was about 6 feet across, all branches woven together and everything. And there were small bones in it. There was scat in the next room. Well, it was obviously something that had shit, but there was none in the nest, none in the room with the nest. And while we were up there, something hit the side of that house hard enough it shook the house. And we got the hell out of there.
I bet it shook some.
A short story called Cabin in the Woods. That's kind of a dramatized version of that. But we something paced us out of the woods, and for like a week after that, it came up, tried to get in their house, and
damn,
we got chased out of that
scene where Clark and what's his name go into Clark's garage and find the nest. You know where that came from now. That's where that thing came from.
Okay.
It looked like something like you'd see on nature documentaries that mountain gorillas make. But this was on the second floor of a house. Crazy. And it was 6 or 7 feet across and probably this tall, 8-10 inches tall.
That's crazy. Holy shit. Hey, I'm not trying to get off topic here, but I'm on topic. But Sherry Porter had a good one for y'all in the fire areas or areas prone to fire. There is an app called Watch Duty that shows fires in your area. That's very helpful. It's Watch Duty. So that just came across earlier. Yeah, I said the same thing, Bowers. I said, I bet it shook some scat loose in you too. But they've been. I wish I was wearing my brown pants today.
Sticking it out your pant leg as you're running through the woods. We got paced out of those woods. And in the story, the story I described seeing creatures like getting close and we were shooting at them. There were a couple of times I took a couple shots in the air because I thought something was getting close to us.
Did they hook anything at y'all?
Yeah, we were hearing branches breaking, shit flying past us. We disturbed a group, and I was 15. Chris was 16. His family sold that land.
Damn.
His family sold that land. A couple of years later, I joined the Army, and Chris joined the Army the year before I did because he's a year older than me. And while we were both in the Army, his family sold that land. They moved to New Mexico. But we never went back in there again. We had actually talked about trying to find a way in there to get that old. When we were in the house, we were talking about trying to get his dad's truck up there to get that old wood stove out of there. Cast iron cooks. It had like 2 ovens, all the burners. It was a flat top wood cook stove, cast iron. And after we got chased out of there, the plans of going back in there were pretty much shelved.
That's who me and you went to his house that night when I was down there, right? DA? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, when we went out there on the other side of Lebanon, that was him. And at that point, we were actually only about 4 miles from where that house was. That land that he lives on now? You talk about squatchified.
That's down off the Gasconade River, down in Laclede County. Now, just a couple miles from Hulls Ford. If any of y'all are familiar with Laclede County, go down to Hulls Ford at night. You're going to hear some weird shit in the woods around Hulls Ford.
Isn't that where we met him?
Yeah, we met him at Hulls Ford.
Yeah, didn't we see like some eye shine off down in the
down in the woods behind us where we parked.
Yeah. See that's an area we should have went when Doc was there. That was a good area. We should have got in touch with Chris and seen, since we had Doc, seen if we could have gone down there and done some stuff that night or at night. I completely forgot about it.
I did too. We had so many other areas we were wanting to show Doc. I didn't think about going back up there. But that's a good area for us. We need to get back up there.
I would really love to go to his place during the day and scout it out and see where, because I wouldn't want to go the first time and go traipsing around out there in the dark, not knowing where I'm going, because that's some rough looking country. But I would love to go during the day and look and see where a good spot would be to go, and then try to get back in at night.
Wonder if, I've got that OnX, the hunting app.
Yep.
I wonder if I can find his old house on this map, because it's pretty detailed. If I could find his old place, I might actually be able to find that old house in the woods. Dude.
Did you find it?
I think I did. There's his old house right there. And there's where we cut back into the woods. And you can see the remnants of that old road in the woods, but there's no, you can't see the house. It's overgrown. But I can see the remnants of that old road.
Kathy Steen said that me and you need to go back and get that stove for her. I imagine it's probably not as good a shape now as it was then.
Yeah, that was 35 years ago. And if that, heck no, I'll be 55 this year. So that was 40 years ago. If that thing was still in any kind of shape at all, I'd want the dang thing. But dude, I think I could get us to it. I think I could get us right back to that place.
There you be.
Here I am.
Here I is.
Here I is. How y'all doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing. How you mama and them?
Tolerable.
And the dogs?
They good.
Can you imagine being pelted by a thrown Bigfoot scat? Man, I come right into some great chat questions. Holy crap.
Yeah, no thank you.
No spank you, sir. I don't
especially some of them the size we saw down there at Combs Ferry during the day that time when we was
some of these scat piles in there. Well, I had when I was with the boys were little, we went to the St. Louis Zoo, and chimpanzee threw scat at us, but it went and stuck to the glass. Thank God there was glass there, because it chucked it right at us.
That
I
is
had a patient throw poop at me one night.
That is a primate thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
if we could find that again, I'm pretty sure I can. If it's still there, I would imagine 40 years had passed. That house was probably caved in on it. But
it's a shame too.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It would look like the one my grandmother used to have. It had like multiple burners, like a flat top wood cook, with ovens on the side, and then the burn box down below. It could have been used as a smoker, an oven. You could have grilled directly on the flat top. It was in great shape. It was just a little rusty.
Fancy.
My grandma's got one of them down in the she calls it the little house. Just down below her big house. She got a little house. She got
probably single. My grandmother's family was from Richland. I deer hunted up around Richland, and my grandfather was from Crocker. I've deer hunted up there too. Spent my summers all over that area. Yeah, it's out just off 32, out north of Lebanon. Like you're going, if you know where Nebo is, it's kind of out that way.
All right then.
Hey, House is in the house. What's up, buddy?
Oh,
House.
yeah, that thing's probably unserviceable now. It's probably it
I would say that house probably is caved in on it by now.
yeah.
Because there weren't even power poles coming up to that house. So, and I know that area got power in the 40s. So that house had to have been pre 1940s
Wow. Yeah, because
because there was no power to it.
I remember my dad saying that he grew up in a shotgun house. And for those of y'all who don't know, a shotgun house had like a central hallway down the middle that they could open up to let airflow in. He grew up on a sharecropper's farm. He was poor as dirt, and so he was dragging a cotton sack behind him when he was 8 years old and plowing behind mules. But he said that they had one of those cast iron stoves. They had one inside, but they had a smaller one outside for in the summertime. They called it their summer kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of that? I've never had heard of that, but it's like where it got so hot they wouldn't heat up the interior of the house; they'd cook outside. I didn't know that was a thing. So,
My grandparents, not only did they, when I was a little kid, because they lived out near Bennett Springs, out off one of the side roads. I could take you to it, but they not only did they still have an outhouse, part of the house still had a dirt floor, and they had an outdoor oven, and they built made out of concrete blocks. They built an outdoor stove, and in the summertime they did most of the cooking out there. And when we did our yearly hog boil, we used all of that.
Yeah, because I remember Daddy didn't get electricity and running water till 1950, about the year before he graduated high school, right before he went to Korea. So
that little house I talked about, when my grandma would cook for big meals for the whole family, she wouldn't cook in the house because she cooked so much. She'd go down there and cook in the little house to keep from heating up the big house.
Yeah, that steel grating that you can like weld over like openings. This is the old crisscross pattern, diamond pattern.
Yeah.
For the longest time as I was a kid, I thought that was what barbecue was supposed to look like.
Hey,
man,
what actual grill lines where everything had that diamond pattern on it.
I love the way we all grew up.
Many of those smokers and homemade barbecue grills and things.
I love the way we all grew up, man. Because I remember my mama and papa, or mama and papa, what we called them. We'd have a hog killing in the fall. And they had that big old cauldron full of hot
black. Do not forget that.
Yeah, man.
They used everything from ham cheese to.
Let me guess. There was a chain up in a tree around a big limb somewhere too.
Yep.
Blood pudding. I mean, not blood poison, blood pudding.
Yeah, I remember Daddy said we ate everything but the oink. When he said we ate everything but the oink. And it's pretty cool the way we all grew up, man. So I know we got off topic, but getting back to the whole cryptid thing, they're going to be looking for that food source, man. I think that's
they're going to be like the old timers. They're going to use every part of it.
I think that's going to be a driving factor for them, especially with the youngins.
You say off topic though, Doc, but think about it. I'm sure your grandparents and great grandparents were like my great grandparents, because my grandparents were not this way. But my great grandparents, y'all have heard me say this on the show plenty of times. My granny would tell me, she kept me when my parents and grandparents were working. When I get off from school or during the summer, that's where I stayed. Don't you go out in them woods too far, them boogers will get you.
Boogers, yeah.
That's heard that story my whole life.
We heard
stuff like that.
We heard because we lived in the Pearl River Swamp, and so my mama, we called her mama, was my grandma. Mama would say, "Y'all be careful, them boogers will get you. Either them boogers, if them boogers don't get you, the wampus cats will." And
Did your grandma ever plant a second garden at the back of the field? Told us kids to leave it alone.
Oh, they always had gardens growing up.
They called it an Indian garden.
Yeah, we grew them. I grew up.
They had
Pop farmed about
squash, pumpkins, and watermelon, and berries, and all kinds of shit back there. That they told us just leave it alone. That ain't for you.
You remember? Well, I told you he had the area where the pasture was, then he had the back pasture. Okay, Pop farmed probably like where I'm sitting right now. This was one of his gardens. He farmed probably when I was growing up. I want to say of the 80 acres he still had left here, he probably farmed 50 or 60 of it. Other than what the house was on. But there was one little garden that he kept out there in the front of the pasture, right in front of the barn. And I walked behind a tractor. I can't tell you how many miles when I was a kid, picking up sweet potatoes and dragging that plow behind a tractor, and I'd walk in there barefoot picking up sweet potatoes. He everything that he planted, he had different fields for everything. Where I'm sitting right now was one of his cornfields, and then across the road in front of my grandparents' house was a sweet potato field, and there was fields everywhere that he did everything in. But he had everything that he planted on these big fields he had in that small field out there, but we never took anything out of that.
Yeah, well, my brother Dim Bones is in here right now. He can back up and correlate some of what I'm saying, because I know our daddy planted a garden in the back 40 of our land, and said it was for the deer.
I've heard that.
And honestly, it did keep the deer from raiding our corn and our okra and our peas and such as that. But what else?
My uncle Buck, before he passed away, they had a place out by Long Lane, Missouri, and they put out like mineral blocks and salt blocks for their cattle, and they put more at the back of the field on the other side of the fence. I'm like, what are you putting those out there for? She said, don't you worry about it. It keeps the ones up by the house from disappearing.
Pop had four cows.
I got both
had 4 cows and put out 6 salt blocks for 4 cows.
That's a little bit much, ain't it?
That's some salty cow.
I got both my Brugly others here tonight, so there we go. I got both of them. Yeah, that cow's gonna be turning into jerky before it's even processed.
They season them from the inside out.
You've heard of salt pork? That's salt beef.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Woo! All right, look at Arkansas. What the Arkansas hog farmer says. I still put out them extra salt blocks.
People live in the backwoods. They know that stuff.
Man, hey, people can laugh at us. I mean, I know we talk funny, but they can laugh at us all we want. But
there's a method to that old folk madness.
When things happen, there's a reason why that we do the things we do. I might talk slow, don't mean I am slow.
That's right. And we also had apple orchards when I was growing up. We had like 6 apple trees and 2 or 3 pear trees, and Dad would monitor them real close. And at a certain time, you can get out there and start picking because they ain't gonna be there in a day or two.
Yeah, just pick the ones down low because you can't pick the ones way up that they can. I bet
if we waited too long, them trees would be barren.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yep.
I used to ask what was it? They said, "Oh, it's just deer." Yeah, ain't no deer getting the apples out of the top of a 15-foot tree.
Oh yeah.
That deer sure can climb a tree real good.
It was the same thing. We had a big persimmon tree out there next to the hog lot, and Pop would always get us or get me because it was me and my cousin Mike. Then because my other cousins and my brother were all too young, so me and my cousin Mike would always have to go out there with him and help him pick up the persimmons. And he would always like, "Come on, boys, we got to go. We got to go get them now. We got to get them now." I'm like, why, Pop?
Look at out there at Combs Ferry.
We got to get them now.
Out there at Combs Ferry. Look how many of those piles of scat were loaded with persimmon pits.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, Wyatt took all the poop pictures. Why you got so many pictures of poop on your phone?
That was some shitty.
Look at all the persimmon pits in them damn things.
Yeah, because I remember him calling that out. Was it him or was it you, DA?
Oh, it's Wyatt. He's like, are these persimmon pits? I'm like, it sure looks like it. And then we got to look at it, and there was tons of that was loaded with persimmon pits.
All over the place. Yeah, Dim Bones. My brother Keith said, as Louis Grizzard used to say, we talk slow, but we're thinking the whole time.
You know, another thing that'll bring them in, muscadines.
Yep.
Woo! Muscadines and scuppernongs.
Scuppernongs.
Yeah, if you got them growing wild on your place, you best be picking them early because they're not going to be there.
Let me tell you what, my Aunt B can make some muscadine wine and curl your freaking hair, son.
I got a bottle sitting right in there that my grandpa made before he died.
Lord have mercy.
40 years ago or more. You talk about something that curl you know what sideways. Woo!
Yeah.
I took a drink of it a couple of years ago, and I'm like, we're going to wait a little while on that.
Well, you know, because what we were seeing out there with all the persimmon pits and in the scat also had quite a bit of fur.
Yeah,
in
so
the scat.
that was definitely something that was, you know, and it didn't look like bear scat. It looked more, well, it looked like human. I mean, it was round. You know,
It looked like a big old
big ropey turds.
What you just said.
It was spiral in fashion.
Persimmon pits. Well, that's what it was. I didn't mean to break the little feller, but I sure did.
No, I don't
know how else to describe it.
Oh.
He got the vapors.
It was a voluminous movement of the bowels.
Hey, pawpaws. Bobby Singleton said, "How about pawpaws?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate Bowers, we're getting a lesson in scatology.
Categorically deny that.
Hey, let it be known, we know our shit.
We might be full of shit, but we know our shit.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
We know our shit because we've seen a lot of shit.
Yeah. Oh man. We definitely saw a lot that day at Combs Ferry. Good Lord.
In Northwoods, there was fur and small bones mixed into the.
Okay, so Northwoods Cryptid was a fur mixed in the scat, or like a big fish? You used a rabbit to wild.
Let me see if I can find the. Let me see if I can find the picture. Give me just a second. I've got.
The bear asked the rabbit,
No,
"Hey,
it was,
the shit stick in your fur?"
It was embedded, Northwoods. It was embedded up in there.
Here we go. I got a picture. I got the show and tell.
It was intermeshed even.
Courtesy of Wyatt Estes on this picture right here. You can see the persimmon pits. You can see the hairs in it. Yeah, that's tasty looking, ain't it?
Why don't you put some mustard on it?
Why don't you take some crappy photos?
That was horrible. Right?
That's a chunk of bone right there. One of them had a tooth in it.
Yeah, some of them have bone in it.
Let me see if I can find one of the ones that had bone in it.
Oh, Lord. Here comes the poop pictures.
Flinging poo. Oh, here's a pretty good one. And I don't believe this was a dog or anything like that. One, it was too big. And two, you can tell how much hair is in this. It's just full of hair all through it.
Yeah. We was in some pretty hairy shit out there.
Yeah, we was deep in the hairy shit out there.
Y'all nasty.
Oh, yeah. And there's this one too. It is this isn't a poo picture. Doc will be happy. We found yet more pieces of deer stuck up in a tree.
Oh yeah, that'll make him happy. Show him the dismembered deer hide.
Oh, I remember seeing that. I was right there.
I just draped over that tree branch as pretty as you please.
I put my water bottle right up next to it.
Yeah, I think I got that in there. Yep, there we go. For scale.
Yeah. I mean, what critter puts deer hide up in a tree? You know what I mean? Everybody's like, quite the shit show we have here. Oh my Lord. Yes.
There's one of those partial tracks we found that was actually underwater. There you can see the ball of the foot right here and the part of the toes. That was about a 16-inch track, but there's no way we were casting it. It was in about 6 inches of water. There's one of the destroyed campsites. The ones over in Joe Bald don't look like that. The ones over in Joe Bald look like you could clean up the leaf litter and the fallen branches and camp at it. Pretty much all of the campsites in Combs Ferry look like this.
Destroyed.
Yeah, utterly destroyed. There's Robbie for scale. That's a tabletop he's standing on.
Mm-hmm.
Probably weighs better part of a ton.
Yeah, that's rebar reinforced concrete, folks.
Probably 6 to 7 inches thick, about 7 feet wide, and probably 10 to 12 feet long. And that weighs a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Part of a track.
Yeah, we saw some good stuff out there for sure.
Yeah, we did. Here's some strip bark off of a spruce.
A boon.
Yeah, that was a bone. There's some more hair.
So
more hairy food. I think that was probably either coyote or dog, though, that one, because it's not very big.
lots of food. All right. Good enough. So what we were talking about?
This one, no, sorry, what was that, Doc?
I said what we were talking about? Oh, Miss Lene. Hope you feel better, Shug. Angie suffers from those all the time. So
I get them once in a while and they suck.
Prayers to you. Yeah, I've had a couple of stress tension headaches and put me down, man. It was horrible. We're praying for you, Miss Lene. Love you much.
Yeah, that's pretty much why Sonia's not here tonight. She's got her migraines are bothering her again, messing with her sleep.
You got a lot of folks that love you here, Miss Lene.
Absolutely.
I hate it when my people feel bad. So
Absolutely. I'm looking to see if I had any more of those pictures to hand, but it's looking like I don't.
Well, we had a good show. I mean, it's been an hour and almost 40 minutes, and we've stayed mostly on topic. So I do hope that the fires. I mean, I always worry about all the creatures getting displaced because the game wardens up in Wyoming were like, hey, we'll give you we'll roll your permit over, your tag over to the hunting area that you're hunting in this year for next season. And we're like, well, thanks for nothing, because everything's freaking gone, dude. They ain't gonna be shit here next year when we go hunt, because all the elk that we were hunting are gonna be moved off somewhere else where there's more vegetation. So that could that lead to a higher concentration of sightings in areas outside of the burn area?
It's entirely possible.
I mean, would you think would that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just thinking, Robbie, what do you think?
I tend to agree with that. I mean, if something like that comes through and wipes out pretty much an entire habitat, they're not going to be back until that habitat is regrown.
Right. I mean, that's 6, 8, 10,000 acres. I don't know. Like hell, up in Wyoming, we know there's critters up there. 138,000 acres. I mean, gone. So would that not increase your concentration? Because the thing is, it's not going to be so dilute. Does that make sense? The cryptid population is not going to be so dilute. They're going to be a lot more concentrated in these areas outside the burn areas, because that's where they're going to be going. Unless like Robbie said and DA said, y'all had a good idea. What if they're using that cave system like a superhighway and they go into Kentucky? So could there be more concentration of stuff in other states? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, not there again, it's a speculation thing. We know that because we don't know how deep them things go. But if the caves do like what we theorize and speculate they do, and they do go through, and obviously, DA's brought that up multiple times about the dye going in Bennett Springs and then coming out 6 months later in Alaska. And then now that they're thinking that the Mammoth Cave system runs from Maine to New Mexico, at least, if not more.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more to it than we know what's going on.
Oh my God.
And there's no way we can go in and map this stuff. So we'll never know the answer to that.
Right.
No, we won't.
Somebody in the chat was asking about those original Joe Bald images from the video that Steve and I took. Here's one of them.
Oh, that's where you call it the Wookalar.
Yeah. You can see its hand and the side of its head. That one's really grainy. That's not even anything to do with it. There's where you can see the head sticking out.
And how many feet up in the air was that, DA?
And that was
about 10 feet. 9 to 10 feet.
That night that it rained on us, Doc, that's where we were headed, was right up
through
all that.
I know. Well, we heard something pacing us over to the left.
Yep. That's the same place that, Doc, when I took you out to Joe Bald, that's the exact spot. This was taken at that exact spot where you and I saw movement.
We heard something pacing us over to the damn left, dude. I know we did.
This is probably the clearest image. And got to remember this, we had no intention of trying to capture cryptids on image. We were just shooting a quick promo video from Lakeview Man that I was writing at the time. And we found, actually somebody else spotted it and told us about it about a year later. This is probably the best isolated image we could get from that really, really grainy cell phone video that was really just supposed to be me. But in this one, you can see there's the hand on the tree. You can see the nose and the ears that are very dog-like. The eyes are right there.
Yep.
I mean, that's about as clear as we could make it. But and when we panned the camera back, it wasn't there.
Dude, you literally can see the thing look around the tree and move out back behind the tree as the camera's moving across. I mean, that makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck every time we watch it.
Yeah, it was 2 different directions.
I think probably that's the best Dogman image I've captured. And we didn't even intend to do it. And that's right here is where it was.
DA, that
where we were standing.
That is what was,
and there
stalking
you can see
me.
it sticking out.
That's what was stalking me, you and Noah, that night. It was trying to get us to go down that little game trail.
There's the head sticking out from the tree.
Whew. Oh, mercy.
Zoom back in on that. So
yeah, because I mean, like Wyatt says, that's clearly the most images you see out there, because most images look like they're shot through a potato lens.
Now this isn't much better. I mean, it's not a high quality image. It was just shot on an old crappy iPhone 3.
Well, guess what I have on the way for our next expedition?
What is that?
I have thermal that takes video and stills.
Hell yeah.
So we're definitely going to have, other than me saying thermal don't lie, we're going to find something. We're going to go back to freaking Moon Valley. Don't really want to, but we're going to go back there.
You can see how pixelated this is because, again, it was shot on an old cell phone. As it wasn't until like last year I actually bought a new cell phone. I'd always inherited an old cell phone from somebody because I just didn't use it that much. But I've got a pretty good one now with a decent camera. But you can actually see the lines on the screen, how this was pixelating so bad because this was as far as we could zoom in. But even this, you can see the shape of there's the snout, the eyes, the shape of the ears. It looks like a big husky, like a husky's head sticking out from behind that tree, and that's about 9.5 to 10 feet off the ground.
I'm telling you, that's what we saw tonight when we were all there. That's what was. You can't convince me that it wasn't what was trying to get me, you, or me to come down on that game trail that night.
I tell you what, go back that picture again, DA.
Which one?
The size comparison.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's a good one to bring up.
Because
that'll let you know when you start talking about one being, 10 to 12 feet tall, just how much broader it is than a human.
I still got that sketch that I did in the hotel room.
Yep. He sat there and sketched that out in between.
Okay.
Thermals don't lie.
Okay. Everybody look at the head and shoulder comparison on these suckers. Now look at the head and shoulder comparison on these suckers. Look at the angles. That's what I saw.
Doc, let me have you bring that up again.
Hold on. Shit.
I'm trying to get you up to where it's the bigger one. There we go.
Wrong one. You're the big one.
And look at how those things looked. And I hadn't like been sitting here researching what they look, but it was like the head, and then it sloped off from the head to these big ass wide shoulders, and then there's all of a sudden another one goes bloop, behind it. It's like, here I is, and was peeking out. Exactly.
And just so y'all understand,
shit,
we had this encounter after we were done and over with. We drove DA and Noah back to DA's house, dropped them off. Doc and I went straight back to the hotel, and we went straight into his hotel room, and he drew that night. So it was 45 minutes to an hour after the sighting, Doc.
Yeah, it was fresh in my head, sketched out. Oh, I did put in the happy little trees, Greg. Thank you for noticing that. I didn't put the little happy little shrubs next to it, but I'm gonna tell you, boys. I mean, I've never had any. I've had paranormal encounters.
This was Doc's first cryptid encounter,
but that was my first, like, definite. Holy shit, snacks! I mean, I believed in them. I did not believe it. I was not skeptical at all.
His paradigm didn't shift; it ground gears.
Yeah, because there's so much evidence out there. There's so much scientific evidence out there. And
it wasn't a smooth shift,
but it definitely concreted my position on these critters for sure. I mean, I definitely, and I had to wrangle these two yahoos because they were sitting there pressing forward. I was like, y'all. Me and Noah was like moving forward, and I was like, "Y'all come back. They're trying to."
We got ourselves overextended.
Yeah, we about got ourselves put in pincher maneuvers. Because these suckers think tactically, y'all.
They're very smart,
Whew.
And we were in their element.
Whew. Yeah, especially after I did the freaking owl, and Robbie did the wolf, and it did back a perfect owl call. dude.
We talked to each other. I was like,
I'm just saying.
Owls don't usually answer wolves. He's like, nope.
Man, you couldn't have stuck a freaking 27 gauge hypo up my butthole. It was, my wrinkle grommet was locked down tighter than Dick's hat band, son. It scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I think we were all about ready to call it a night.
Son. But then I was like, no, we going back.
And we did.
DA was like, are you sure? I was like, no, we going back.
And he drove by the dollhouse and mocked Jesus. You
Well, he's about their size. He didn't want to get carried off.
It's true. I might have been made their mascot. You never can tell. It was an eventful evening.
I'm telling you, I go back there. I go back because I'm planning on going back down there here soon. We're in the daylight. I go back down there and there's a little Doc doll in their corner. I'm stopping to get pictures.
I wish you would. Hell, if you find it, I'll go take a picture next time next to it in the daylight.
Me and you went, and it was just me and you. We stopped and got out next to that dang thing.
Well, like I said, we'll take a picture next to it in the daylight. I ain't doing it nighttime.
He doesn't know what we talked about after the show went off here last time. After we go off tonight, Doc, you got to stay for a minute so you can tell him. DA, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Sure do.
Okay.
Let's just say more information has come to light about the cannibal case, and I'm not quite ready to go public with it.
Yes, Billy, I have done the hold my beer mentality many times, and they get me about it every time. Fucker, get back over here.
Michael Scott.
Yeah, Robbie's good at wandering off. That's why Noah's the official Robbie Wrangler whenever we go out. Only this last time in Moon Valley, me and you both was wandering off.
Was right there beside me the last time.
Michael Scott says, Doc, I was shoved from behind and about flew off the bed. Hey, Michael, I don't know what you go by, man. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Michael, my oldest son was shoved out of the bed at the Irma Hotel in Cody, Wyoming, in the old historical section, which is notoriously haunted. He was pushed out of bed. So, and we heard thumping up and down the walls, down the hallway, and I popped the door open with a 45 in my hand, and there wasn't nobody there. And then we still stayed. It was still cool. It was all right. I ain't afraid of no ghost. See, I was wondering if you'd pick that up, Robbie.
I was trying to get the tune down in my head before I did it, so I didn't do it wrong.
I was wondering if you were going to pick up Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters.
Robbie's never going to miss a movie reference.
Of course he is not. Thank you, Miss Roxanne.
As I demonstrated in the car.
What can I say? I think I broke Doc on that one. He's like, how the hell did you know that movie? I don't know.
Bro. You ain't lying. Jennifer Lee, my ghost just smells like high-end pipe tobacco. That's a nice one. That's a nice one. That's good. At least it don't smell like body odor or anything nasty like that.
That's true.
Little black Cavendish. Yeah, little Virginia Cavendish. Nothing wrong with that. All right, folks, we got 10 minutes left. Get your questions in. Let's talk about some stuff. DA's looking at chat. Robbie's looking at chat.
I'm actually looking for a video.
Okay, I can tell you're looking for something because you can. All I can tell when DA's looking for stuff, he's all.
Yeah, I'm not finding what I was wanting to get.
Damn it, Bobby.
Yeah, pretty much my story of my life there. I'm gonna have to do some hunting.
So DA, we know Robbie's in the process of book 2, which is pretty freaking, almost dropped the F-bomb, pretty freaking cool right now. I got to chapter 11 tonight, Robbie. I'm sorry, I'm a slow reader.
Right. At least you're past once upon a time.
Now, here's the thing. DA, what are we expecting in your realm of literary?
Well, it would have already been out had it not been for this stupid move falling in our laps. But I'm almost done with Lakeview Man Dead of Winter. It's at about 64,000 words and climbing. So which means I'm in the heading for the final fight phase, and I'm hoping to have it out in the next couple weeks, maybe sooner.
All right. Okay. Awesome.
And I just hit 36K today on mine.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I think I already know where those images I was looking for. I think I finally found them. Give me just a second. Where are you at, bastard? There we go. See if you boys recognize this in the daylight.
Haliwa Wolf. Let me write her. She's asking about remedies other than cannabinoids. Look at passion flower, Haliwa Wolf. Look at passion flowers. Those are also good. Okay, let me hold on a second. Let me put my readers on. I can't see crap. Oh, I remember these pictures. Or these areas.
About in this spot right about in there is where we found that deer head in the road.
Well, remember there was a whole deer skeleton in the road last time we was there.
Yeah.
I mean, just laying off the side of the road, rib cage and all, just hanging out.
Yeah. Because remember, and I showed you where we found all. We were looking where we found the others when we saw the thing coming down the creek at us.
Yeah. Oh, hey, DA, stand below that 1 second. CD Squatcher says, "Hey Doc, can you review the slides I sent DA? Curious on your thoughts. I have not seen them, so if you can."
I'll have to send them to you if I still got them in my email.
Okay. And then Don Donaldson said, "What caliber pew pew did y'all carry when y'all went out?" It
all of them.
All of them. I had a 458 SOCOM, 45 long Colt that shooting a 250 grain bullet like 1,400 feet per second, and a 10 millimeter.
Robbie and I was both carrying 1911s.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I have one of them too. we don't believe in reloading, man. We're just gonna do a New York reload.
I had a bull pump shotgun, and I think the M1 Garand was in the back of the truck too.
Yeah, we had, and the 30-30. We had quite a bit of a center fire.
Well, the SOCOM was back there too. You had your SOCOM.
Yeah, no,
I had my SOCOM.
was not sharing that 30-30. He held on to that like a grip.
Yeah, we had Garand, 30-30, 458, 458. Yeah, we had quite the stuff.
Yes,
yeah, passion flower. Yeah, that's fine, man. The passion flower, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, my name's Kerry, Kery. So yeah, go figure with that, right? Everybody gets me confused too. So, yeah.
There's the most elusive cryptid of them all.
Passion flowers are good. It has been used to treat epilepsy, for sure. So I apologize for the misgendering.
That's the most elusive cryptid of them all.
It's the hardy dog.
Holding still for a picture. That little turd does not like getting his picture taken. I was amazed he sat still long enough for me to snap that. Looking to see if I had any more pictures I wanted to bring up, but I'm not finding any.
You right,
Oh.
Greg.
Here's some good ones. These pictures are why Annette refuses to let me do the tongue pop whenever we go out anywhere. Because these were taken right outside our cabin in Gatlinburg when the morning after I was out on the deck popping my tongue.
Oh yeah, that's the ones you saw out there.
Yeah, growled at her through the bathroom window, and the bathroom window's about 10 feet off the ground. She was officially done at that point. She's like, nope, never again. Don't you pop your tongue. Don't be making noise. I don't want them coming around. Says, if you idiots are going to go do that in the woods, then you go do that without me.
I just remember whenever Robbie howled down at Moon Valley, and that sucker replied with a perfect imitation of my owl call, which is not even native to your environment.
Right. It's not an owl from Missouri. What I like about this picture is I really wish I could have cast it, but it was on about a 45-degree incline on the side of the mountain. You can see toe detail. You can see where the heel dug in, and that was a good-sized track.
That's one of the best tracks I've ever seen.
How big was that?
I could have cast it. About 18 and a half, 19 inches long, and it was about an inch and a half deep pressed into that rocky soil.
That's bigger than what we saw at Combs Ferry.
Yeah, there's the end of my shoe out there by it.
Doc, just for reference, Tyler, my soon-to-be son-in-law, he wears a size 18. We put we put 3 business cards next to his foot. So that's
those were the tracks around the trash can.
He's 6'8", so and we put three business cards. Me and Johnny did next to his for reference to see how big that thing stacked out, or it took 3 business cards to or excuse me, it was 3.5 business cards to span the length of his shoe.
How the hell is Taylor going to afford to feed that boy?
Oily handprints on the car. Robbie saw these in person.
I remember those. Those, DA. I mean, they say, "Oh, it's a bear." No, a bear's not going to leave a freaking thumbprint, dude.
Oh, let me get to these other ones. I was trying to get somebody to analyze these, but I haven't been able to find anybody. I kept feeling like I was being watched from the woods off to the right of the back porch. And when I shot this picture, there's a broken tree and like a natural cover. Does that look like anything to you? Maybe the top of the head up here? Almost looks like an eye. At least it does to me.
Back up. Like an eye and a bridge of a nose.
Yeah. Yep. I was pretty sure something was watching me from that area. I kept looking over there and felt like I was being watched.
Okay. Put your where you said there's an eye. Put your cursor where you said there's an eye. Right. Now go to your 5 o'clock. Right there. It looks like a nose.
Mm-hmm. There's the other eye. And this looks like the top of the head, like a sagittal crest at the top. I took multiple pictures of that, and I took pictures of it later, and there was nothing in there. That was an eagle that was flying over.
So it was kind of like when we went down to Blanc Road, and we saw
See,
was
that's
out
the
the creek.
same. That's the same tree, and it's not in there. You
Well,
can just see the foliage now.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's like we went down a Blanc Road and we saw the thing in the creek, and when whoever it was went back and said, "Yeah, dude, there's nothing out in the middle of that creek."
Yeah, a buddy of mine that lives down there went and looked. Yeah, these are the pictures I took just a few minutes later of that exact same spot, and there's nothing back there. I can go back to that. That's the exact same spot. Now, I'm not, throwing red circles around something or anything like that, but it looks like a head. Looks like something, the head of something back there.
But see, you showed me that picture and said, "Do you see anything in here?" And I said, "Yeah, it looks like a face hiding behind." You didn't ask me any kind of leading questions.
Right. I just asked you what you saw.
Hey, do you see a face in there? You just said, "Do you see anything in here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I see a freaking face behind that broken tree."
There's something looking at you from that area, dude.
Something also slapped the side of our cabin that night, and that's not black bear behavior.
Was that when y'all was playing pool?
Yeah, we were up there playing pool, and something hit the side of the cabin, and I grabbed my Glock and went out on the deck. I'm like, "What the hell was that?" And I could hear something moving in the trees, but I didn't see anything.
Well, I think Steve hit the nail on the head when we were at the Bent Penny talking about it. I think he had the right idea with why we got the response at Moon Valley that we got.
Yep. A little tactical Swanstucker measuring contest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot to show this one too. This is the same cabin, same day. This light, when we first got there,
12 Swanstuckers.
This light was not broken when we first got there, but that night that I went out there and popped my tongue, and then the next day it's a motion sensor light, and the next day I went out there and it was snapped off like that.
And how high was that up, DA?
Oh God, that was mounted to the deck rail on the second floor, so that was probably 20 feet off the ground.
Homie's got some hops.
And it could have climbed. I mean, it was pretty high off the ground. It was at least 15 feet off the ground.
But honestly, if the thing is already 8.5, 10 feet tall,
right,
and we know what kind of muscle structure they got, we know they probably got 4.5 foot long arms. Not too much of a vertical they'd have to get up there and get that.
Homie's got some hops.
That's like Manute Bowl dunking on a 10-foot goal.
Right. Exactly.
Another shot of that same broken tree. You can see the leaves and stuff in here.
Oh, Billy Mitchum has a great point, DA. And what noise do you make when you're playing pool?
Very loud clacking noise, yeah. There's the other light. It was still intact. That shows you how high it was up off the ground. The other light was fine. But the one outside the bathroom where Net got growled at, snapped right over. Better not head up there and have me pissed them shoulder picture online.
Ooh, you gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, she did. She ain't watching. Nobody tell her. Everybody be real cool.
I ain't seen nothing. The light was in my eyes. I couldn't see anything.
Right. I will say the Smokies are beautiful, but there was a lot of weirdness going on around that cabin after I went out there popping my tongue. I was saying, Doc, hop up there and fix that light. Billy Mitchum got a good point, because it is a It's a loud clacking noise, a loud popping noise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, boy, howdy, it is after the 10 o'clock mark. Probably ought to start winding things down. We lost Doc, though.
He said he'd be right back. You were looking down. He got up and walked away, and he came back and said, "I'll be right back."
Yeah, Michael Scott, yeah, he's right. If that was an alpha, yeah, reaching that up and popping that off would have been no problem at all. Because whatever it was big. To leave a track that big and that deep in that rocky soil, it was big. And we did see bears while we were there. Make no mistake, we did see bears, but they were nowhere near big enough to make that track.
Or heavy enough.
We saw 3 juveniles that were maybe a year old. They were good size, but they were probably 200 pounds. But whatever made that track was probably north of 800 to 1,000 pounds.
At least.
And it was going up a 45-degree incline. I could just barely shimmy down to that to start taking pictures. I had to go out the back of the cabin and come back down the hill because that cabin was built on the side of a mountainside. And I had to, very painstakingly make my way down there. Because if I went rolling down that hill, I'd have to call in EMS to get my ass out of there. But I managed to get down there and get pictures of it. And it wasn't 15 minutes later, it started pouring down rain. And of course, I don't know how I would have cast a track on a 45-degree incline anyway. But I would love to have cast that track. Probably the best track I've ever found. I found lots of tracks that you could tell that was, tell it was a track. I found lots of partials. But as far as depth and being able to see the toes and the ball of the foot and everything, that's probably the best track I've ever found.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'm still astounded that it was literally, 6 feet from the wall of our cabin on the same side where we had the slab.
Appreciate you, Greg.
And when I spotted that, I went over and moved a branch and looked off the side. I went out there with my coffee, and I called Annette. I'm like, "Honey, come here." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Just come here." She come walking out there with her coffee, and I didn't say what I saw. I just moved the branch and go, "What is that?" She leans over and she goes, "Is that a footprint?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "How big is it?" "It's way down there." I'm like, "Yeah, it's probably twice the size of my foot." Deep. You notice I you could see where I had stepped going down there, but my impression was like a 1/4 inch deep. And I'm, at the time I was probably 265. I was not hardly making any impression in that rocky soil at all. And that track was every bit of this deep, 1.5 inches. There he is.
I had to tell my granddog goodbye. Sorry.
No problem. No problem, brother.
Chester leaving you.
Yeah. My little space heater.
Oh, Chester.
Such a sweet little dog. I think that Angie and I are going to get under a dog. We've been talking about it. It's about time. About that time. Nothing will ever compare to Ranger, but
nope.
I want you to give another dog the home you gave him.
Yep. And there's a dog meal rescue literally a mile from our house, so we're gonna go look next week. We need that little sweet canine energy in the house.
Absolutely. Well, folks, I know it's after 10. We're going to start winding some things down, but while we did touch on cryptids, in evacuating areas, basically they're going to be looking for the same needs we need. They're going to looking for shelter, food, and water, and the place to get a path to get out of that fire. And if you're in anywhere near those areas that have been touched by these natural disasters like fires and floods and everything under the sun that's been going on these last 6-8 months, not only we pray for you for your safety and for speedy recovery, but be careful. You go out to let your dog out at night, or you go out to check on your chickens or check your barn, be careful. Take something with you, because I don't want to hear about any of y'all going missing. You got every right to come to protect yourself and come home safe. And if you live someplace where you're not allowed to carry a firearm, which there are places where you're not, I'm not going to point any fingers, but we all know them. Take something to protect yourself, whether it be bear spray or even a big hickory stick. Take something to defend yourself with. I know when we lived in New Mexico, I didn't go out to the barn or check any of the animals without a spade, a shovel. And that wasn't to defend myself from coyotes or anything. That was to kill snakes. So know your dangers, know your areas, and have a plan and be prepared, because these things do come at the worst possible time. Have a plan for safety. Have a first aid kit. Know how to use it. Make sure you get the basics you're going to need. Get your medications and store them up. Have food put back. Be prepared as you can be, because like Doc is fond of saying in his Dark Angels little commercials, the time chooses you. You don't choose the time.
Fact.
It's never going to happen when you're the most prepared. It's going to happen when you're least expecting it. And it's same thing with life or death situations. It's the same thing with, illnesses. It's the same thing with just bad luck. You never know when it's going to come a knocking. And all you can do is be as ready as you can be. And if you live in a remote area, check on your neighbors. Check on the folks that you care about. Check on the folks that need it the most, especially the elderly or the sick, people that are having health issues. Check on those folks, because they may not have anybody else doing it. There's so much divisiveness in this world. We need to get back to taking care of one another. And it shouldn't matter, who you voted for or what you voted about, or even, where you're from, or what your nationality is. Good folks is good folks. That's one thing I learned in almost 20 years in law enforcement. There are two kinds of people in this world: good people and bad people. And that is all about choices on which one you want to be. I choose to do as much good as I can. I was one of those idiots that would always run toward the trouble. And even though I'm old and busted up, if something happens, I'm still going to do that. I'll give as much as I got left to give, up to and including all of it. And that's just how I'm wired. And I'll go to my grave being that way. And same with Doc and Robbie both, because that's just the kind of guys we are. We will give even if it kills us. And I'm not saying everybody's got to be that way, because not everybody's wired that way. But it don't take a whole lot to be kind to one another. It don't take a whole lot to check on each other. And if somebody needs something and you got extra, take it to them. It don't take a whole lot to just be good to each other. And I think that's something this country needs a hell of a lot more of. People realizing we're all in this together. It's not Democrats versus Republicans. It's us against the world. We got to stand together. As the old saying goes, we must all hang together, or we shall most assuredly hang separately. So just bear that in mind, folks. Get a plan, make a plan, be prepared. Get a kit, be prepared. Get something to defend yourself with, even if it's a walking stick. You've got to have something you can count on to defend yourself, because as the saying goes, when seconds count, 911 is minutes away. Ultimately, Walt Longmire said it best: I am 911. Because if you live in a remote area, you are your own first responder. And when I worked in the hospital, and I carried actually two. I had an EDC kit in my cargo pocket, and I had a black dark kit on the back of my belt. And every nurse's desk I visited, I showed them where two things: where my med kits were, because most of those floors did not have a trauma kit.
Nope.
I made sure they knew I had a trauma kit, how to use it, and should I fall, they knew where my backup gun, because I carried two. And have a plan. Be prepared, because you never know, the life you save might be your own. And folks, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. I know we took a kind of a serpentine, meandering path, but I think we covered a lot of good information tonight. We talked about some of the hairy stuff that's happened to all of us. We talked about Robbie's awesome book, which I hope like hell has got closer to that milestone. Robbie, before we jump off of here, give us an update. How close are you?
Hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up.
I am pulling up Robbie's book. Jay Bauer says, as another YouTuber said, stay frosty, stay strapped, and stay dangerous. Yeah, as George Washington once said, stay strapped or get clapped. Well, I'm paraphrasing.
I've sold one today, so that means I'm still at 84 processed orders. So
let's get Robbie over that 100. Let's get Robbie over that 100 mark. And don't forget to go to darkangelmedical.com, get a kit, be prepared. And if you enjoy the kind of creatures we're talking about, and you want to read more stories, read Robbie's book or check mine out at DARoberts.net, or available on Amazon. What we talked about the other day, we are going to be carrying through with that. It's going to be happening very soon. The Redneck Reading Association is now going to be, it's going to be members only. That way, I'm still generating some revenue from my audiobooks. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. But we will be doing that. It'll be available probably on the Patreon as well as to members of this channel. So I hope you guys will be looking forward to that. We will be going back to adding those soon. May not do it this week. Got a lot still going on, but we would definitely be back with you guys on Saturday. And I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out with us and for being part of the DAExMachiNation. And we're damn proud to know every one of you. And it's, we may be dysfunctional, but we put the fun in dysfunctional. We're family around here. And I'm glad to have each and every one of you with us on this journey. Boys, you guys got anything else to say before we wrap things up?
Hey, now, thank y'all. And to mirror what DA said, if it weren't for y'all, we would not be here. So first and foremost, thank y'all so much for being here. And y'all just hang with us and prepare for bigger and better things.
And let's not forget the 22 a Day Foundation. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that's 22 too many. So check on your friends and family that are veterans, active duty, first responders, any uniforms. Anybody that's worn a uniform, they've had to have lived through some sort of ordeal, because some of the things that our first responders and our military have had to see and experience is not the kind of thing that's easily forgotten. And at least 22 times a day, that stress wins. And you never know when that text, hey, you awake, or hey, you doing okay, or hey, you want to have a beer, might be the only thing that kept him off the edge that day. So we can get 22 a day down to 0. And we can do that by caring about each other and reaching out to each other. So make sure y'all do that. And let them know you care about them. And we're going to wind this up with a toast. And I'm going to throw the toast up on the screen. And Doc, you want to read us out what to toast tonight?
Certainly.
Let me put that up there if I can find it. What did I do with that? There it is.
Now, folks, this was an old Irish drinking song called The Parting Glass. And this is one of the stanzas in the song. So join with me and raise your glasses. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Good night, y'all.
Good night, everyone. Slanja.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAEx Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.